This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and this is a special that I'm doing on Don't Call Me a Widow. Now, I don't happen to like that title because, as you can see from the picture behind me, my vision of a widow has always been an older woman dressed in black, crying, never moving forward in her life. If I did that, I think my husband would come back and haunt me because we talked about the fact that we both would get on with our life. In fact, he told me that within 24 hours, he'd have a girlfriend. Not so sure that would have happened, but that was his dream, not my dream. I'm dreaming of moving forward. And I'm so lucky that along the way, I've met some other women who are going down the same path as I am. And one happens to be Rita Rizzo. And strangely enough, Rita and I met numerous years ago on a different type of a podcast. And then we sort of stayed in touch on Facebook. And then I saw that she lost her husband. And my husband was still alive and well at the time, but I was connecting with Rita because her emotions were so raw, but so pure. My husband passed away. She saw that on Facebook. And again, we were drawn together. I don't think we're friends, Rita, because we're both widows. I think we're friends because we want to live our life. So tell our listeners a little bit about the love of your life by the name of Lou, who most people probably thought it would never work out. And yet it was a love. Go ahead.
Lou and I met 35 years ago. I was a management consultant and traveling all over the United States doing leadership, personal, professional development programs. And I lived in a small town in central Ohio, and they had asked me to come and teach 3-day leadership in Akron, Ohio. And so I had come up and I was setting up my room to have my class. And this tall, dark, handsome stranger appeared in the doorway like 45 minutes early. And my first thought was, oh, shoot, now I'm going to be interrupted. I won't be able to think through, what I need to set up. And when he saw me, he just had this really startled look on his face. And I said, Sir, are you here for the leadership class? And he went clear across this big long room from me. And I said, Well, you're really early. And I saw he had a pack of cigarettes in his shirt pocket. I said, There's a smoking area right outside. Why don't you go on out and have a cigarette? And once I finish setting up, I'll come out and talk to you. And he went, You look just like my grandma. And
Oh,
I said, I know. And I said, Oh, well, you certainly do have a unique pickup line. And we both started to laugh. And he said, No, he said, she's got that long, wavy hair like you did. And she was, now he's African American and I'm Sicilian. And I'm thinking, how could I look like his grandma? And he said, Oh, well, you have this, he said, You have the same aura she does. And I later learned he was a Rosicrucian and he could definitely see auras. And he said, and she was Native American. And I said, Oh, well, I'm a quarter Native American on my mom's side. And he said, Oh, that's it. So that day, we went to lunch together. And then the next day, and then the third day, he said, I'm not ready to go home yet. Will you go to dinner with me? I said, Sure. And we went and we had a great time and we laughed and talked and connected on a lot of points. And when he went to leave, he gave me his business card and he said, Call me if you're ever back in town. We'll do this again. Well, 3 months later, the mayor's office calls me from Akron and they want me to do diversity training, in particular, Black white racism. I identify as white. I'm from Marion, Ohio. Lou's the only Black guy I've ever met in my life. What do I know about Black-white racism? So I thought, I know that guy. So I found his business card and I called him, and he was an administrator at Boys Village, a boys residential facility, and he did all their training. So I said, have you ever done racism training? He said, no, but diversity. And I said, do you want to help me with this? He said, yes. So I said, well, you be my shadow consultant and I'll go in and gather information. I'll come, we'll have dinner. I'll tell you what I think I saw. You tell me what I really saw. All right. Okay. So we did that for about 4 weeks. And finally, I got brave enough to tell the mayor, I said, I've got this guy I'd like to bring in. I said, this is pretty one-sided because all you have on the stage is white representation. And he goes, great, I'll give you guys 6 more weeks if you want to do that. So he came in and we started teaching together. And anyway, it worked out great. And then the mayor of Barberton heard about it and he wanted us to come. And then the mayor in Cleveland heard about it. And long story short, we built this government consultancy. And pretty soon, the mayor of San Francisco heard about us, the mayor of LA heard about us. And by that time, we were madly in love. And
Wow.
so then we decided to marry and live happily ever after, and we did that. He was beyond human. He was a black belt martial artist, saved my life on more than one occasion. He was brilliant, well spoken, funny, just larger than life. I never met anyone, a musician. He could play anything. He had a band. So during the week, we would travel sometimes together, sometimes separately, because he got his own following. And then on weekends, he would go play area clubs, and I would go and sell souvenirs for him, that kind of thing. And so that's what we did up until he got sick. And 35 years worth, well, 33 years worth. And then he was diabetic, and his diabetes started to exacerbate, and he wasn't responsive to the meds anymore. And then he got really bad infection in his feet. And then earlier in my life, I had been a nurse. And he didn't want to go anywhere. He wanted me to take care of him. So I did for the last 2 years of his life. And he stayed here, and we had the best hospice nurse in the world that came once a week and gave us support and encouragement and help. And he died as exactly as he wanted to, in our bed with me holding his hand.
You know, some people say it's harder when our spouse is ill for a while and we're taking care of them. And others say it's harder when it happens quickly. Um, you had 2 years of nursing your husband, but you knew that end was coming at some point. I had no idea. I
Right.
only had a week that I knew something was going to happen. Um, and I don't think for our audience, there is one way that is easier or better than another. I think we have to
Glad I
realize,
had a lot of prep time.
yeah,
I really am. Yeah.
well, you did have prep time, but sometimes for some people, that prep time drags on even longer because
Hmm.
there's just too many transitions. But whatever it is, I think one of the things that is important is that you remember all the wonderful things about Lou that is helping you keep walking down the path. And I learned that from my mother and my mother in law. And I'm so glad because I could have been stuck. I could have sat on a couch and said, when he died, I died. And there are some people who are listening right now that are saying that. But the reality of it is, we're breathing, we're living. So, what are some of the things that you've done for yourself to keep Lou alive, keep his energy with you so you can keep moving forward?
Well, like told you earlier, he didn't want a funeral, so I built and am still building a little tribute to him in the office where his ashes are. He has on his little cap that he used to wear to play in, his African, orange African cap, and his photo album of all his band gigs is there. His music meant so much to him. Um, I there's a CD player in there, and there's his stack of CDs that he made over time, and sometimes I'll play them. Although I have to say, hearing his voice sing is gut-wrenching. That's the only way I can put it. Because I can feel him so much. And I can remember him from the stage. This is for my beautiful wife, Rita. A lot of the music he wrote for me, he would sincerely look into my eyes as he sang it. He meant every word. And so I guess it's mood dependent, it's situationally dependent. Sometimes it's very comforting to me to have him with me for those few minutes because I'm right back in his audience again, or we're in the living room looking into each other's eyes, dancing to his music or whatever. The other thing I do is this is my wedding ring and this is his wedding ring. And I found it in a drawer after he died and went, oh no, we're still together,
Yeah.
so we are. And this is the original wedding ring. This is the 10-year anniversary ring, and this is his ring. So, um, I just take him with me wherever I go, but I still go. My family's in central Ohio. I've got friends that were widowed about the same time as me. Some of them I knew before, some of them are new people, but not a lot. And so we do little day trips. One friend and I were it seems like every time I plan a vacation, something gets in the way of that. And this last one, my friend, who's a widow, fell and broke her leg.
Oh,
And that really made me start to think about, oh my gosh, my whole family is sitting right here next to me right now. I've got a big, fluffy, lovable dog on one side of me and a mean little cat on the other side of me. And they're wonderful. They keep me, attentive and talking and going for walks and we go to the park and we meet new people and all that. But they are terrible at taking care of a person who is
absolutely.
sick.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm going, oh my gosh, my whole family lives 2 hours away. All of my friends work. So I'm not going to be as lucky as Lou. I'm going to end up in a nursing home when something debilitating happens to me. And that is not a lovely thought. And yeah, so sometimes I like, look at the fine mess you've left me in now. I thought I could count on you, kind of thing. So I guess I go through the whole range of emotions as though he's here, but he's not. But when I need him, I can summons him in my head. I know what he would say. I know what he would do. Sometimes it's comforting. Sometimes it's confrontive. Sometimes it's fun and funny and that kind of thing. So I just keep going and I call him when I need to. And I have made new friends. I have learned new routines so that I just don't sit here and wither away.
And there's a couple of things that you mentioned, and you said you're not as lucky as he was because he had you to care for him. And most of us know the horror stories of nursing homes. There are good ones. I want to preface that, but there are a lot that are not, and not necessarily because they don't want to be, but it's not the kind of work that most of us want to do. We don't want to be around people who are ill and dying. Um, and so finding good help is difficult. But one of the things that I did, because I don't want to be in a nursing home come that day, um, I have sat my boys down and we've talked about what I need, why I'm going to need it. And luckily, I have two very responsive sons. Now, for some of you out there who say, well, I don't have sons or daughters, there's probably somebody in your life that you could have this conversation with. And one of the things that I want to point out is that it's becoming more accessible. And I think Medicare eventually will have it, whereas you will be able to have that care in your home as well as in a nursing home. Um, so check out those things and don't sit around fretting about it because I know we could, and that's not living life.
Well, I mentioned it to my 30-year-old grandson, who is a registered nurse, and he said, well, I'll just come live with you, Grandma. And I said, you'll do what? And he said, yeah, he lives in Central Ohio and he works in Columbus. And he said, yeah, he said, I've always wanted to work for a Cleveland clinic and I can drive there from your house, can I? I said, well, sure. I've done a lot of work for Cleveland Clinic. And he said, oh, okay. And he's moving in. He's moving in the 30th of this month.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
yeah, we completely redid the basement, which was a mixed bag because Lou had his music studio and his office down there. So it was finally getting rid of all his stuff, which was very tough. But then it was Zach and I picking out new carpet and new furniture and just the basement is a whole different place now. Now he's got this cute living room and he's got a game room with a pool table and he's got a bedroom with a brand new huge bed and a huge screen TV and so it's definitely a new beginning and he'll work, they usually do 312s when they're a nurse and so he'll be gone 3 days a week but someone is coming home,
I love
you know.
that. And, and we all have opportunities for our challenges. And that's one thing that I was taught growing up. You think this is tough. You think that you're facing a brick wall. What are your options? And there's a question I ask myself every day. How is this working for you? Whatever that is. And as I told Rita yesterday, I woke up and there was just this like dark cloud hanging over me. I just didn't feel right. And I accepted the fact it was just an off day. And if anybody asked me, I was very honest. Yeah, this is not my day. So if I have to do something important, let's not do it. Um, and that's okay. We all have those days, whether we're going through grief or not. So let's meet each other along the road. You have a very exciting road. And I'm happy that your grandson saw this as an opportunity for him as much as it was an opportunity for you.
Mhm.
Because some of us would say, oh, I don't want my grandchild to move in with me. Oh, I like my privacy. But you were able to do it.
You
And
know, it didn't occur to me, but now it has because, like, he brought his water pick and put it in my bathroom. He changed the shower head to when he's been like moving things in gradually, and I'm going, well, he didn't even ask me. Well, what if I like my old shower head? Kind of thing. And then it's like, I never shower in that bathroom. And what difference does it make? So I didn't know I was set in my ways like some old lady, but I was. And I don't like that about me. And as soon as I got insight to it, I was able to examine it and discard it. So to me, it's an opportunity for personal growth, for more discovery, for more insight into who I am and how I could do better instead of living on autopilot.
Absolutely. So you mentioned before we went live today that yesterday was a great day for you, but also turned out to be very emotional. Um, and I did miss watching the opening of the Obama Center yesterday because I was so busy trying to work with this dark cloud over my head. Um, and hearing your story about yesterday, I'm almost glad that I didn't watch it because I'm not sure how it would have triggered me. But tell us why it was so important to you, but also what those triggers were.
It's very triggering for me. And again, that took me completely by surprise. I didn't know it was going to be. It was a building dedication in Chicago, for heaven's sakes. But they kept doing these clips of Obama throughout his life and throughout his political career. And Lou and I have worked for him. We taught his communication staff black-white racism because they were going to need that when he first came into office. And we have this beautiful personal signed letter from him. Rita and Lou, you did a great job, exactly what I wanted you to do. Friends always, Barack. And it's part of Lou's
Yep.
tribute now because he was so proud of it. But I didn't, as I saw these clips, it took me back to campaigning for him, negotiating to go and train his staff, just the whole history, which of course Lou was with me for that. And it was, I mean, he was our first Black president, and we did so much groundbreaking stuff, or tried to advance equality in the world. Our mission was to bring more good into the world. And Obama was such a messenger for good. And so at first, I'm watching it yesterday, and I talked to Lou still. I talked to him out loud. And I envision him in his chair, which sits, next to mine. And I'm like, oh, honey, remember that? Oh, honey, we were there for that rally. Oh, honey, and then it was, oh, I so wish you were here to see this, and I wish you were here to see the progress that has been made. Something, we planted seeds here and they actually grew into something. And so, and then it was 4 hours long. So by hour two, I was just sobbing, which is strange because I never really have cried since Lou passed because I was so relieved that he was no longer in pain. And I really felt like mourning would be selfish because he was in a better place and I needed to go forth and make my good place as well. There's never going to be any place that was any better than with him, but I met a new friend that happens to be male, and I gave myself permission to go out to dinner with him. That's it. That's it. We don't. Mm-mm. Once he said, "Can I give you a side hug?" And I went, "Why is that necessary?" So don't touch me. Don't act like you're too terribly fond of me, but anytime you want to buy me a steak is okay. And he travels for his work, so he's only in town about every 6 weeks. So about every 6 weeks, I get a steak, and he's fun and funny and so forth. And then when he brings me home, he stays in the car in the driveway and he makes sure that I get in and that's it. And that's all it's ever going to be because I'm still married.
You know, I love that you say that. And not all of us are going to. But
Right.
there is a big question that is always asked in support groups. How long can I wear my wedding ring? And the question and answer is as long as you want. You know, I can't wear mine all the time because it irritates my fingers. So even when my husband and I were together, it came
Right.
off a lot. But I wear my band all the time. I'm not taking it off. Now, maybe it's because of my age. Maybe it's because we were together 42 years. Okay. Do I miss hugs? Yes. Do I miss kisses? Yes. But I miss his hugs
Is.
and his kisses. Okay.
Mhm.
Getting hugs from my sons is totally different.
Right.
Okay. Getting a kiss from them is totally different. I don't need it from anybody else. But I will say that when I am with my very close friends or my family, I take those hugs. I take those kisses because they're family friendly oriented. But we do have a fight.
Actually,
Yep.
yes. This is actually my second time being widowed. I was widowed when I was 25. Met this guy, dated him for a couple of years, finally married him. And the minute we got married, he turned into somebody else, beat me up on our honeymoon. And when I said, "Why are you being like this?" He said, "Because I own you now." So we came home from the honeymoon and the phone was ringing. And as it turns out, it was his girlfriend calling to tell me she was pregnant with his child. So he didn't move in. Okay. He was carrying in the suitcases. And I said, turn those around and take them somewhere else along with your butt. So he left. And 3 weeks later, he was a supervisor for the workfare program at the welfare department. And he angered someone who had been recently released from prison on a Thursday. And on Friday night, the guy was waiting in the parking lot for him. A car chase ensued. The guy hemmed him up in the alley and shot him 5 times at point blank
Oh my
range.
God. Oh,
Yes. And so that was just entirely different.
absolutely.
But still, we had had those 2 good years together before he lost his tiny mind. Or I lost mine and we got married. I suppose I should have asked him what marriage meant to him before I did it. It didn't occur to me. Um, but that was entirely different. One of his friends from work called and said, Rita, Gary's dead. And I said, what? No, and he said, yeah, a guy named Michael Cozy shot him to death. And he said, would you come and identify his body so his kids don't have to? And I said, well, yeah. So I had to go to the morgue and then I went to the murder trial and it was horribly traumatic, but not not because of the relationship I had had with him. I had to sit there with his children who were 8 and 10, his former wife, who she and I were nurses at the same hospital,
Ah,
and we've been friends, and I knew her, and it was just so traumatizing for everybody, the way it happened. I mean, I haven't heard of a welfare worker being killed before or since. And so that was a whole different thing. And I cried immediately with that one. It was just soul searing. But with Lou, it was, as I say, it was a relief because he just, when he passed, he looked so serene, so at rest, so like he was going, finally,
Yeah.
you know. And days before he died, being a black man, he was having these delusions that the police were chasing him.
Oh, poor guy.
And he was just so agitated, and I had to keep medicating him. And that last day, he was just at peace. He slept, he was comfortable. He let me cuddle up to him, and we all have to go sometime. And
Right.
I want to go like that. I want to go with full acceptance and, looking forward to the next phase. Yeah.
And that's what we're doing right now. We are walking through this journey. We don't know when it's going to end. It's time that wherever you are on the journey to keep moving forward, do it for yourself first, and then do it for the person that you love so much. I
Mhm.
just take my husband's energy with me. When I feel like I did yesterday, I say, wait a second, where's that energy that's going to keep me going? Um, I reach down deep inside and I take it out, and it's like life is beautiful. And like you, I had so many wonderful years with my husband. Um, and I talk to him more in my head than I do out loud. Every once in a while, it comes out, but typically during the day, I'm having these conversations with him in my head. And um, I want people to know that that's normal. Okay. You're not going crazy. Um, it's who you are because that energy is still here. It's not going anywhere. Rita, thank you for joining us. And for those of you who are listening, I will be sending this clip on to Rita as well so she can post it as much as she wants. It will be on newclevelandradio.net and also on Cleveland 13 News because we believe that we all have a story to share. And when you share your story, it makes you stronger. And I'm so glad that we met in person. We are going to do it again, um, but let's get your grandson settled in the house and off to work, and then we'll pick a spot and um, two ladies will go have lunch again.
Thank you for doing this work. I don't know of anybody else that is addressing time, attention, and concern to widowhood. And when you asked me to do this, I realized how necessary the work is, how important it is, how difficult it is sometimes. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.